I'm back. Mesa Boogie. Now there's a story. I've liked Mesa Boogie amps for a very long time, and as some viewers will know, I've got the Road King 2 down here. Had this for a number of years, and when I bought that amp, it was a 120 volt amplifier that somebody had bought into the country. And this one at the top here, this is an RA-100 or Royal Atlantic 100 watt amp, and that too was bought into the UK at 120 volts. Now you might say, well, what's that about? Well, it's all simple really. You see, in England, Mesa Boogie amps have been very expensive for a very long time, and that was always partly because they were going through distributor here or distributor there, or you know the thing, and the distributors have got to make money and the dealers have got to make money and so on and so forth. Well, mine 120 volt Mesa Boogie isn't really a problem, as long as you've got one of them big fat things that I've got down there, you know, a voltage reducer to knock the voltage from the UK down from 240 volts down to 120. And sure enough, you can buy those voltage reducers for about between 70 and 80 pounds for one that's got the allowable current draw. Yeah, you wouldn't want one of the whimsy ones, you know, you want something with a bit of beef, especially for these sort of amps. But of course there's another solution too, and it's one that I applied to this amp down at the bottom here, this Road King 2, some while back. But I never did do the conversion on the RA-100. Well, until now that is. But why have I done it now? Why didn't I do it, you know, when I first bought the amp or something like that? Well, there's a very good reason, and it's one I just want to mention as in passing before we get down to actually doing the conversion on this one. You see, over the years, Mesa Boogie's had these different distributors. They had one I think down in London called the Rocky Road Company, long time ago. And if you wanted some work doing, you'd have to send your amp down there, and it was pretty expensive. They were London based, or somewhere down that way. Anyway, they bit the dust later on, and then they found another one up in Scotland somewhere, and I did have some involvement in trying to buy things from them, but it was never easy, and I have to say that it was pretty unpleasant. I had a Triaxis, a Mesa Boogie Triaxis that failed under warranty, and even getting that done was, well, really hard work. But recently I did have a little thought on this, and I decided to contact Mesa Boogie directly over in the USA, and spoke to a guy there and asked him if he'd got a schematic diagram, which he did send me actually. But down at the bottom of the email, you know, I'd been discussing this amp and the fact that it was 120 volts and somebody had imported it and all that sort of stuff. And he said, oh yeah, we've got transformers for them. I never thought much more about it, other than the fact that below that he'd given me a list of 7 places where I could buy the transformer. Now that's highly unusual. It has been, at least in the UK. Well, that is until now. Because what's happened is, it appears that that particular distributor up in Scotland is now out the door. He's gone that way. Or was it that way? Whichever one it is, he's gone. And good, because what they used to do would be to want to sell you a power transformer for double the price, but then they had to fit it. And their labour rates were, well, you see the Empire State Building, haven't you? Well, their labour rates were higher than that. So, in any case, I decided to contact one of those companies. I think it was a guy named Rob. Yeah, I think it's Rob. It'll be amended down there in the text if I'm wrong, but I think it was Rob. And there are 6 or 7 of these companies now around the UK that can repair your Mesa Boogie amp, or carry out all these different, you know, technical things that you might want doing. But one of the things is that I called this Rob up and I said, hey, how much for a transformer? I'll get you a price. So he got me a price, and it was basically about £205 in September 2020. So I decided to order that, and he said, yeah, no problem, I'll get it in. Now I've got technical guys that sort of oversee what I do sometimes. You probably haven't, so it might be worthwhile if you buy a thing like a power transformer, or whether you want something carrying out to the amp or whatever, take it into one of these 6 or 7 service centres, because Mesa Boogie's changed, and it's changed quite dramatically from what I see, and that's a good thing, because I'm a real customer. I'm not, you know, some figment. Yeah, so I bought it, and this video is all about how to fit a power transformer in an RA-100. I don't propose to show it to you on the basis of you just tamper around inside an amplifier and get killed. That's not what it's about. If you're not qualified, don't do it. In fact, people like Rob will fit that power transformer, if that's what you want, or whatever it is, probably for a very decent fee, sounding like a really nice guy to me. So anyway, here's the video, that's the background, and without further ado, let's go and see how I did it. Just a very quick look at the amp just before we start putting it apart. Some people might like to see it. Great amps. So we've got the regular standby on and off, and on power we've got a 50 watt mode or a 100 watt mode. Right, you with that? Got the obvious little light, and we've got here this thing called multi-soak. Now multi-soak is this attenuator that's in the back of the amp. You'll get to see that later when we pull the thing apart, and you can turn that on or off. It is whatever you want it to be, and it can be by channel, so you can go from X dB to minus 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 X dB, if you follow me. We've got a master for the clean channel. We've got a bass, a middle, a treble and a gain. So they're pretty obvious what they do. And when we move across a bit to the sort of high-low channel, because this is a sort of hybrid channel where you've got a high output or a lower output. And again, we've got master high or master low, so we've got control over the 2 masters on this channel, I'll call it that. We've got bass, middle, treble and gain. My gain's always around there somewhere. It would be, wouldn't it? It's like that. We've got a foot switch that connects on the front, and we've got the input for the amp, and we've also got a manual switch for the channel. Yeah, depending what you're trying to do. A couple of little LEDs that show you what's going on. That's it for the front of the amp. Okay, well, some guys might have seen one of these sort of things before. This is called a variac, and this is it's a device that can take the voltage from 0 all the way up to the operating voltage and probably beyond. Yeah, so that allows you to test the amp later on when we've fitted all these bits at a low voltage, do all the measurements, and yeah, a few divides on the calculator and you'll know where you stand. But more of that later. Okay, well, around the back, the only real thing I want to show you is the attenuator. Comes in its 3 channel parts, if you will. There's a HT fuse and a mains fuse. There's the power cable going in, the 120 volt one. We've got a loop, 1 or 2 other bits and pieces, speaker out and all the rest of it. But I'm going to whip this chassis out now so we can get and have a good look at what we've got to do. And just for anyone who forgets where those 2 wires go, the black one's on the inside. Well, here's the chassis out. Very nice chassis it is too. And by the way, this one was made on the 28th of May 2013, like I thought, 13-14. Got the attenuation things in there. This is the output transformer, but the one we're interested in today is this one over here, which has got to come out. And the one that's fitted on a 120 volt job is a 561850. The one we're going to be fitting in here is a 561851, which is 240 volts. All very nice. So what I'm going to do is take these tubes out so we don't get any breakages. The rest don't matter because the chassis can sit on these things. And maybe some wood and things like that. So, and then we'll flip her over and have a look closer at what we've got to do. It's not rocket science, but if you don't know what you're doing, you can watch the video, but don't do it. Go and pay Ron. I'm sure that he'll be happy to help you. Or any one of the other guys that Mesa have set up throughout the UK, I think there's 6 or 7, to do this for you. They won't charge the earth, and you'll get a really first-class professional job, which is what you want, isn't it? Okay, well, it's all good, and this is the area where we want to be taking a look. Down at this end, the business end. You can see that the cabling is terminated in these blocks. There's one that goes up here, and we've got a couple of other bits and pieces to do. We've got a few things to do on this little board up at the top, and it's all looking good. So we'll come back to that presently, and I'll move the camera and we'll get a little bit closer. Yeah, what do you think? What a brilliantly made amp. It looks incredible because it is incredible, and that's what Mesa Boogie is. A very, very well made amp by a brilliant company. No doubt about it. None. I've had Mesa Boogies since, I think Mark III was the first one I had. But I've had Triaxis, 290s, I've had the Road King, I've had loads and loads of Mesa Boogie products over the years, and very few problems. Okay, well, here we are. This is the area we're going to be doing all the work. We've got a few cables to disconnect. Some on well, these type of connectors, I don't know what they call them, but there you go. And we've got one down there as well. And this little board's got to have a little bit of work done to it, a couple of components swapped out. So it'll be all good. We've got to snip off these little things. So what first thing I'm going to do is disconnect this and snip off these so we can get that transformer out of the way. Sounds like a plan to me. Okay, well, as you can see, we've flipped this off. Pulled this one off. We've got all the connectors loose. I've got to resolder 2 wires down on the board down there and one over here. And I've got to get this board here and do a little bit of work on that, which I might just pull it out because it'll be easier and quicker. Sounds like a plan, but we'll see in a moment. Okay, well, what I can do now is look closer at this and get this transformer out of the way. I think that's the next job. Let me do that, and then we've got a bit of room. I think I'll cut the wires that need resoldering, and then we can do them after. All simple. Oh, you have taken the amp and grounded out everything on them capacitors, haven't you? I'm sure you have. Well, if you haven't, any time soon you could get killed. Oh, you don't know how to do it? Well, my advice is go and speak to them guys in the centres below the video, and they'll help you. They'll help you. They'll charge you, but you'll still be alive to use it afterwards. Well, there you have it. That didn't take long to remove, did it? And there it is, up on the side. Yeah, pretty simple, really. So I think what we'll do is take a look at setting about taking a look at this board here. I think we'll flirt that off so we can get a nice, easy view of it. And then it's easier to swap the bits over. Well, and fit the bits that aren't there, because there are a few that are just not there on the 120 volt. Okay, well, this is the board we need to get at. You can see we've got an MOV there, we've got an in-rush thermistor, I think they're called, there, and we've got CL2 there, CL3 there, we've got a ground there, and CL1 there, so we've got to do a little bit of updating. This says 100 230 and this says 117 240, so that's the one. It's on already for this little jumper section here, so it's all good. Yeah, so let's go about swapping these components out. Updated, you can see that the MOV's been replaced. This inrush item has been done there. 2 little caps there, another one behind here, and don't forget that little important ground that goes down to the chassis, it appears, down there, just there. Okay, well, as you can see, it's now screwed back in place very firmly. So I've got the red wires to fit, just snap in. I've got the primary to fit, that just snaps in. And I've got the green wires to put in place of wherever they came out in the first place. Not too difficult, but you need to make sure your iron's hot enough to get the connections well made. These two greens here are 3.1 volts that go down to the board. And this green and yellow is the ground. Yeah. And don't forget, you do need to change the fuse from a 4 amp to a 2 amp, like that one. Here's the refitted power supply. Yeah, big fat chunky thing, and there it is in the machine, raring to go. Of course, we've got to test it and do all that sort of stuff, but it looks pretty good to me. Okay, well, here we are. I've got the variac plugged in, and the variac's plugged into the amplifier. The amp's turned on to 100 watts. There's no tubes in there, by the way, not for now. And the standby's kicked on. That's how I always tend to look at these things. And it's probably set up on the clean channel or something like that. Now, when this actually gets up there with real voltage in it, it's going to have problems, or it isn't. I suspect it won't actually. It should be fine. So what we're going to do is turn this up. It's actually turned on now, but of course there's no voltage going through it. It's all on 0 volts. I don't expect anything to happen particularly, except being able to flick channels and stuff like that. And if I can get that far on 240 volts, we're on a winner. Yeah, so let's give it a whirl. Here we go. Okay, we're on 78 volts, 80 volts, no real current draw or anything like that. 117 volts. I can hear the amp beginning to click. I don't know if you can. I can hear the fan kicking in. I don't see any problems, any excessive current draw or anything like that, and that's why these things are always very useful. I could go round and check voltages, but actually I don't think I need to. It all looks pretty cool. I'm on 170 volts and I can see the light on and things running actually. Yeah, so let's take it up a bit further. I'm on 220 volts and I can switch channels. Yeah, I can see it all working there. I know there's no tubes in it, but don't worry about that for now. So we'll whip it up to 240. So there it is running at 240 volts. Okay, well, it's all been shut down again. So although this is plugged in, it's all turned off. I'm not going to put my hands in there right now. You'd need to do some work to be able to go and look at that. But what I am going to do is flip it over, put the tubes in, and plug a speaker in, of course. You don't want to not do that. And then let's see if we've got any sound at all and things like that, and have a look at what this is reporting back and things like that. It all looks fine to me, but until you really put the tubes in and the rest of it, well, that's another story. So hold on a moment. I'll be back in the snap of my fingers. Well, we've got it tipped over, plugged into a speaker cab. I've got the unit to be plugged in, but we're ready to go basically, so I'm just going to lower the camera down a bit so you can see that rather than me. I know I'm a nice looking guy and all that, aren't I? Aren't I? Yeah, of course. So you can see what's going on down there. I don't think it's going to be too exciting for you, but there you go. Okay, well, here we are, raring to go. I have this ready to be turned on. It's on 0 volts. Amplifier sitting there with its tubes in now. By the way, they're in the same place they were before we started, because I marked them, didn't you? It's on. Of course you don't see anything yet because the voltage is really way down. I've got a tiny little bit of current draw, which is a real good sign, even on low volts. So at 80 volts, well, I've got virtually no current draw. 75, 80, on 100 volts. I can see the lights coming on the amp, slowly. I can hear the things flat clicking, because lots of relays in these amps. I'm on 140 volts. Well, I am now. Clicked a bit more. Fans kicked in. Yeah, it all looks like it's running to me, but we'll see. Voltage is coming up. Now on 220. Now I'm on 240. Well, nearly. 240 volts. So if I go around and have a look at the front of the amp, you can see that the lights are on, and you can see that I can switch channels. But is there any sound? Not yet. Oh, let's look closer. Fancy that. It's all looking pretty cool. Okay, well, what am I going to do now? Well, I'm going to go and fit it back in its case, because I think I can. All looks good, all sounds good, which is more important. Thankfully, I have a guy that's here who comes around and has a quick look at what's going on when I've done it. If you're not like me, and you haven't got Phil over there to come and check what you've done, well, silly fool you. There now, that wasn't too bad, was it? It took me about a couple of hours, but remember, I'm doing all the filming and all the messing around and all the other things that go with that. And like I said, if you're not technically qualified, go and speak to one of them guys in those service centres, because I'm sure they're going to help you, and they'll do it for a great fee as well. And very useful guys. They can get the parts. By the way, the power transformer arrived with me, not just to the UK, but actually with me within 7 days of me ordering it. And I think that's got to be a record from, probably came from America. And just to prove it's working, you can see that it's turned on, it's humming, it's doing all the stuff it should do, it's got its lights, and it plays. Yeah, what more can I say? And the guitar works too with the new switch. Oh, the switch you didn't see. But another new one. So there you have it. That is the RA-100 power transformer installation with all the modifications to make this product safe for a 240 volt environment. That includes the MOV and the thermistor and the other little capacitors and things, just to make it so that it's, well, it's what it should be. Hope you've enjoyed this one. Don't forget to visit www.TonyMcKenzie.com if you get a chance, and have a good read down there, because there's a lot of information about where you can go and get these parts fitted and things like that. Those guys are not applicable for America, of course, it's a UK thing, but yeah, how you do it and all the rest of it is exactly the same in reverse if you want to take it down to 120, or I can't really understand why you'd want to do that, because Mesa Boogie amps are substantially cheaper in America. Till next time. Oh, and don't forget, stay away from the madding crowds. Yeah, until next time, get out of here.